Today, our Mother Church invites us to reflect on one of the most important Christian virtues, faith. It is the foundation of our Christian life. Faith gives us a new way of looking at things and a new way of living. Without faith, we don't see God in our life, but only the ugly and dark side of life. Without faith, we remain helpless and slaves to despair and hopelessness. Faith liberates us and helps us to see the power and love of God at work in our lives. In the first reading, the prophet Habakkuk shows us an experience that perhaps many of us have had. Praying to God for a particular favor and nothing happened. If we were only praying for material favors, perhaps we would not be surprised. But even when we ask God for spiritual favors, He seems often not to reply to our prayers. Here we might think of the young children in alcoholic families who pray to God to help their parents, and nothing happens. We can think of parents who are watching one of their children die and who pray for healing, and nothing happens. We can think of parents praying for faith for their children, and nothing happens. And we ourselves have been praying for peace in the world, and the war in Ukraine still continues. The prophet Habakkuk tells us, the just one, because of his faith, shall live. We are called to be faithful to God. Whatever happens in our life, we are called to believe that there is a personal God who really loves each one of us personally and also is involved in our lives in a personal way. And I know that it is not easy to believe, but we are called to live our life. This is the way we live to show our faith. Faith gives us the new way of looking at things, but faith also gives us a new way of living. People usually speak of faith as accepting the truth of some church teaching. It is true, but I also learned in seminary that faith is more than merely believing something is true. In some languages, faith is also a verb. To faith means to trust God enough that we are willing to bet our lives on Him, to trust God enough to base our decision, behaviors, and ways of relating on Him. Father Ronald, a professor in seminary, gives us a wonderful example about to faith. He said, you can believe that a swinging bridge will support you. You can even write a paper telling about your belief in the reliability of swinging bridges. You can have engineers inspect the bridge and declare it safe. You can stand at the entrance to the bridge telling people that you believe the bridge to be safe. But all you have done is to show that you believe in the safety of the swinging bridge. It is not until you step out onto the bridge, that you faith that the bridge will hold you up. It is not the talking or believing, but the risking that is faithing. We can believe that God exists and is with us. We can have quote about God. We can tell others that we believe that God exists and cares for us. But it's not until we step out and trust God with our life that we faith in Him. It is not the talking or believing, but risking and trusting that is faithing. And to faith, to trust God with our life, we must have an ongoing relationship with God. Not just know some facts about Him, but trust Him to direct our lives. In the second reading today, St. Paul tells us to be strong. With the help of the Holy Spirit, we can faith. We can be a testimony for what we receive from the church teaching. Jesus in the Gospel teaches us that with the smallest amount of faith, we have ability to do great things in His name. And even we are servants, unprofitable servants, but we have a wonderful, wonderful Master, God, who are in charge of everything on earth and in heaven. So my brothers and sisters, we are gathered here today in the house of God. Some of us may have strong faith, some shaky faith, some a tiny bit of faith, but we are here. Jesus accepts us all, and He invites us to feed on the Holy Word that we have just heard, and to feed on His body and blood in the Eucharist we are about to share, so that our faith may become stronger and stronger each week. Even on those days when we find that faith in God nearly impossible, we can always be faithful. So each week, may we continue gathering together around this pulpit and the altar, praying, Lord, I believe, help my unbelief.